Welcome to Science Lab with Mrs. Keener. Hi everyone, I really enjoyed watching your videos, seeing you use your fingers when you couldn't bend your finger joints because you had finger splints on them. It was very entertaining to me. Thank you for sharing those videos. Today we're going to make a project that helps you to see how your finger bones and joints work together. We're going to do something called an X-ray drawing. An X-ray is a special kind of image that takes a special picture of your body, and X-ray energy passes easily through your skin and your muscles, but it doesn't pass easily through bones. So when you look at an X-ray image, the bones are easier to see. The film is dark, so the background is dark, and the places where it's blocked is lighter, and that's where your bones are. And this is useful if your doctor thinks you might have a broken bone because it can show up on an X-ray. So today we're going to make a picture that looks just like an X-ray. So remember that our finger bones are separated by joints. Those are the spaces between our finger bones, and they make it possible for our hands to move. We can curl our fingers and wrap our hands around things because of our joints, the spaces between the finger bones. Get a piece of paper and trace your hand with a pencil. When you bend your fingers, they bend at the joints. Those are the wrinkled parts of your fingers. Add a little line next to the finger joints in your fingers, the places where they're wrinkled, the places where they bend. Those joints are the places where the bones meet, and it makes it possible for your fingers to bend. Remember, your long fingers have two joints in the middle of them, and your thumb has one joint in the middle of it. Make little marks by all those finger joints. We also have joints where our fingers connect to our hand. Make a little line where those joints are. Those are our knuckles. Each finger and your thumb has a knuckle. Now connect those little lines so you have one line going across each finger showing where the joint is. Also put in a line for each knuckle. Now we're going to draw in the finger bones. Finger bones are kind of like a long rectangle with rounded ends. You can also draw them as an oval. Draw in a finger bone into each space between all the joints. There's one finger bone near the tip, one near the middle, and one closer to your hand. Draw in the finger bones in each finger. In your thumb, draw in the two finger bones. Okay, we've added all our finger bones. Now we need to add the bones in our hand and our wrist. Draw a line that shows where your wrist bends. Where your hand attaches to your arm, that's a joint. Touch your hand. You can feel the bones in the center part of your hand when you touch your hand. There's one bone going towards each of your fingers. Draw those in. Next, we need to add the bones in our wrist. Our wrist is a pretty complicated joint, and it can move in lots of different ways, not just up and down, but side to side, around in circles. And the reason all that's possible is because it has a lot of little bones in it. Our wrist has 8 small bones, so draw 8 small circles near the wrist line. The last thing we're going to add are the arm bones. If you only had one arm bone, it would be hard to twist your hand. Luckily, we have 2 arm bones. You can kind of feel them. And we're going to draw in just the ends of the 2 arm bones near the wrist. Next, we're going to add something to make the bones easier to see. Color in all the skin and muscle parts using a dark crayon. The darker, the better. Crayon works best because we're going to add something later in the bones, and the crayon will help it to stay in place. So it's best to use crayon for this step. Color in everything except the bones. So all the skin parts, all the muscle parts, color them in with a dark crayon. It doesn't have to be super neat. It doesn't have to be super perfect. Just make sure you get all the spaces between each bone, and make sure to go over the outside edge when you're done so you have a clear edge. Next, we're going to add one last thing to make the bones look brighter. It might be a little messy, so I'm working on a cutting board. You might want to do this on a counter or on a plate. Take some oil, cooking oil, olive oil, vegetable oil, some sort of oil, and put it in a little bowl. We only need about a spoonful. And we're going to add this to our picture. We only want to add a very small amount. As we add it, it's going to kind of spread out. So if you have a tiny, tiny paintbrush, you can use that. I don't. So I'm actually using a pencil as my tiny paintbrush. Take one little drop of oil and add it to one of your bone sections. If you're using a paintbrush, make sure to add only a tiny, tiny amount because it's going to spread out quite a bit. I'm adding one tiny drop of oil at a time, and then I use a finger to spread it out so that each bone section is filled in with oil. You could do this with a Q-tip. You could use your pinky finger as a tiny little paintbrush. Whatever works for you, as long as you're only adding a small amount of oil at a time. If you want, you can add some information the way real x-rays have information. The name of the body part that was imaged, the name of the patient, the date the image was taken. This is optional. So hang your picture in a window or hold it up in front of a bright light and it'll look just like a real x-ray image. And it shows the finger bones and it shows the spaces between them, the joints. I look forward to seeing your x-ray images in Flipgrid.